his articulation and self-confidence. That was a little bit lacking at the initial stages of the conversation.
And when we look at the CV, I feel he can do better.
Is going to be conducted by our resource panel. We have Mr. George Asimje, we have Mr. David Osabuti, and then Fam Osuejari, and then myself, Dr. Anthony Entry. Thank you so much. Please kindly tell us about yourself.
I'm Ishwatete, and a practicing account officer for the past 10 years. I'm self-resilient and also determined to always achieve success in whatever I do. This is the least I can say about myself.
Okay, thank you so much. So please, what would you say are some of your strengths, your key strengths and weaknesses you've picked up so far in your professional career over the 10 years in which you have practiced as an account officer?
Okay. My key strengths are reporting on time, relation to the activities that I'm being tasked to do, completing it on time. Then also ensuring that every time I am always focused on the goals and objectives that I'm being tasked with. Then one of the strengths that I do have is my mathematical strength in computing and also ensuring accuracy in whatever I do.
Okay. Please, what would you say are some of your weaknesses?
With my weakness, I would say it has to do with when I'm being tasked twice from two different authorities, let's say my immediate boss and his supervisor, or let me say my immediate boss and his supervisor, when the purpose is conflicting each other. I do have a bit of a challenge in satisfying both.
Okay. Mr. George, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. You mentioned that when your immediate supervisor and your director have conflicting views, it's a challenge. So, how do you deal with such a challenge?
Well, many times I try satisfying my immediate boss's request, or let's say his objective first. But in relation to the superior, that's the director of finance, his purpose, let's say, his responsibility to me, let me say, the task he gives me for me to satisfy it. At times, the challenge is he not having the patience with me finishing one after before my superiors on before reporting to him. And in solving that, many times I try to delay a bit in achieving his goal.
Oh, okay. And have you ever been with an organization whereby the organization was being audited by external auditor?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And what role did you play in during the audit?
But during the audit, I filed all the documents that we were needing, which was by their request. The documents that are needed for them to audit, that's the payroll, I file it. Then also in relation to the receivables and payables, I file those documents in relation to that. Then where there are questions relating to the payroll, then also the receivable and payables, I answer to those questions.
Okay. Do you have any experience with budgeting?
Yes, please, but not in depth.
Can you share what your experience with budgeting is with us?
Okay. With the departmental session, we make a forecast of all the activities that we are going to incur in the upcoming month or year. So based on that, we quantify the activities in monetary value. Then also we propose the expenditure lines to each of these monies that you have quantified and the source of revenue we are expecting to finance those expenditures.
Okay. And what forms the basis of you quantifying those expenditures?
Okay, we basically look at per month that's the previous years, the monthly allocations that are given to our department. For example, we are given, let's say, 2,000 cedis to spend on our stationery, transportation, then also in relation to basic items such as toiletries and those things. So we use that expenditure that we've incurred in the previous year, then we found about 10% of it in the upcoming year. So this is the expenditure we are expecting to incur in each month. Then we just oppose it to the entire year, then give a value to it.
Okay, thank you. What taxes are you familiar with?
Pardon me?
Are you familiar with any taxes in Ghana?
Yes, the VAT, then also the PRCN, then that's the COVID, then the other levies.
What is the current VAT rate?
That's 15%.
Okay. What of the COVID levy? What is the rate?
1%.
Okay. Do you know about the going concern?
Please come again.
Do you know about the going concern?
Yes, please.
Can you tell us about it?
The going concern is about the operationalization of a business to the unforeseeable period, whereby every business is to start at a particular point with a particular vision and mission. Then this operation is supposed to be into perpetuity, where management is supposed to hand over time to other management to continue.
Okay. And what of the double entry rule?
The double entry rule. Okay,
Yes.
the double entry rule states that for every activity, transactional activity that is being conducted, there should be a corresponding credit and debit recording of that transaction. So for a transaction to be recorded, there must be a debit entry showing the transaction either going out or being spent. Then when it is incurring some revenue, there should be a credit also showing in the credit balance.
Mr. Sabute,
Yes.
please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Mr. Tete, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to find out how do you manage multiple tasks that have conflicting deadlines? How do you manage such a task?
Well, normally I task it on a schedule as in the multiple timelines. So the one that comes in first, that's the one to be satisfied first, is the one that I'm supposed to complete first. So based on my scale of preference, I look at the one to be finished first to report, and I work on that to finish, then report it. Then the next also follows.
Yeah, but for all the two tasks, they are very, very important. However, they all have the same deadline. So how would you how would you manage that? All of them are supposed to go today. The deadlines are very tight. They are very conflicting. How do you manage such a situation?
Okay. All right. In such a situation, it will be based on um, that's the that's the need for that particular um, task. For example, I'm supposed to schedule my time and allot the period or duration that one particular assignment is supposed to take. Then apportion the time for both. So for example, if both are supposed to completed at 4 o'clock and submitted at 4 o'clock, I'm going to scale up a time frame to know particular task is supposed to take about 2 hours of the day and the next either 3 hours. Then I apportion accordingly. Then I work on it, the report.
So how do you handle very confidential or sensitive information, whether it's a client information or it's a business? How do you ensure that? How do you manage such sensitive information?
Well, with that one, I ensure that the documents that are relating to such information are enclosed in a drawer which is under lock with key. And if it is on the machine, that's the computer, then I also code it with some password so that it will only be peculiar to me to access that information.
Okay. Maybe my last two questions. How do you describe yourself, or how would you describe yourself?
I'm a very conscious person, and also I'll say I'm selfless and enthusiastic at what I do.
Okay. George asked a question about whether you were familiar with the VAS system, and then you indicated yes. Which of them? Which of them? And
You said which of the VATs am I familiar with?
yes, are you familiar with?
Well, that's the general VAT that is being charged by, let's say, um, firms, the withholding tax also.
Yeah, I'm asking the question in relation to the flat scheme system and the standard scheme system.
Okay. The flat scheme system, that's the 3%, which is now being upgraded to 4%. Please, is that what you're asking of?
Yes, and
Oh, wait.
the standard scheme.
Okay. The standard scheme is about we adding a rate or charging a rate on the value of produce that is being made. And that rate is going to be transferred to the consumer. Then the standard scheme is levied at a flat rate where the product in this state is already a finished product. No much of an additional value is going to be made on the product. And that's the 3% charge on the product to the final consumer.
All right, Dr. Anthony, that'll be all for me for now. Thank you.
Okay. From Osejari, please come in.
Right, thank you. Ishmael, how are you doing?
Nice.
Nice one. You made mention that, okay, from your CV, you've pointed, you have a point here that you handle queries related to accounts. Have you
Please,
ever? Have you
come
ever?
again.
I'm saying that in your CV, it's written in your CV that you handle queries related to accounts.
Yes, please.
So how is it done? How do you handle it?
Well, normally when the auditors come around, we sit in an open table, the head of accounts, the other account officers, including myself. So when they inquire questions related to my area, that's the account receivable and payable, then the payroll, I respond either by writing to them or immediately when we are sitting at the table, I answer to them the challenges that they want to be satisfied. I answer to them. And the ones that I need to have a review of it, I go to the office, gather the right information, and report it to them.
Right. Can you throw more light on the statement you made in your career objective in your CV? Enthusiastic personality suited for fast-paced and constantly changing environment.
Yes,
Can you throw more light?
many a times, my institutions that I've worked with so far, I realize that I normally don't fix in the same place always. So we move from department to department. I've worked in a records department before. I've worked in a stores before. So with that mindset, I believe that I could work in any other jurisdiction when I'm given that responsibility. That's the reason why I said in the fast-paced changing environment. Where there's a need for change, I think I can adjust to it. And I'm also
Right.
enthusiastic, eager to learn on that job.
Right. In your education and training, I can see in your CV that you completed a senior high school in 2005, diploma certificate accounting 2008, Bachelor of Science accounting 2013. Now, you came and you wrote that you did national service in the year 2018-2019. How come? Can you
Yes,
explain?
I have other siblings that are after me, and the dependent, I'm being the firstborn, there's a lot of pressure on me. So going in for my national service, as at that time, it was about 256 cities, and it will not satisfy helping to support home. So for me, not to go to the okay, today it is northeast region, Gushegu area, and not be able to cater for my other younger siblings. The best is to take up other responsibilities within Accra, which I can also take care of them and support them. And that's the main reason why I have to sacrifice a lot to do that.
Oh, okay. So it means you didn't do your service right after school.
No, 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 no.
All right. Okay. Now, you said in your CV that you have a skill. I mean, you are conversant with Microsoft Office tools,
Yes, please.
and as an accountant, you've been using Excel a lot, right?
Yes, please.
So, can you briefly walk me through how you are going to off maybe a target value and a target value and a suggested value to get your percentage? So let's say in column A, you have your target value, and column B, you have your expected value. Okay. So in column C, you want to get your percentage value. Do you understand the question?
So you are saying column A, I have the actual value,
Yes.
then column B, the expected value.
Yes.
Then we want to find out the percentage
Yes.
with these two.
Yeah.
Okay. So with column C, I type in the equal sign.
Okay.
Hello. I type in the
Yeah.
equal sign. Then column A, I highlight the cell in column A, then also divide it sorry, please. Okay, so I highlight to column C, I type in the equal sign, then I highlight column A, the value in column A. Then also I divide it by the value in column B, then multiply it by 100.
All right.
Do the percentage.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. George, please come in.
Yes. So you mentioned that you are also familiar with the withholding tax system, right?
Yes, please.
So I wanted to ask, what is the withholding tax rate for service delivery?
For service is 7.5%, please.
Okay, and what of goods? Goods.
For goods, 3%.
Okay. What of the company tax rate?
Hello, please come again.
What of the company tax rate?
That's 25%.
Oh, okay. Do you have any idea what working capital is?
Working capital.
Yes.
That's the employed capital with the difference between the non-current assets and lessen the current liabilities from it.
And do you have any idea why working capital is essential for businesses?
Why working capital is
Essential for businesses.
essential for businesses? Well, it helps them to know the amount of investment they've made so far and the returns they've gotten from operating the business. That's the operationalization of the business. They're able to know from that end that they are either injecting more capital into the business or not.
What is depreciation?
Depreciation. A depreciation is a reduction on the value of a particular item or asset over its useful lifespan.
What role does it play in organizations?
Depreciation, the role it plays, it helps them to know over a period of time the value which they have at their disposal in relation to their assets. So as they plan into the future, they know that some of their assets are becoming obsolete and they know when to dispose it also, and they don't incur loss totally.
Okay, great. But then the main reason for us making room for depreciation is to set aside some income so that in case our assets lose its value, we'll be able to recover, we will be able to replace them. That's the main reason why we set aside some funds for depreciation. Do you know about the components of financial statement? Have you ever prepared any financial statement before?
Yes, please.
Okay, can you tell me about the components of financial statements? Maybe mention it just two components of the financial statement.
Okay. We have the income and expenditure account. Then we have the financial position account statement too.
Okay. You are aware
okay,
with the
let me use the financial the statement of financial position. The components, you have the fixed assets and the current liabilities. Then coming to the income and expenditure statement, that one to be having the sales or the revenue aspect. Then you are looking also at the expenditure or the expenses items.
Okay. So with revenue, what is revenue?
Revenue. Revenue is
Okay,
the,
let me rephrase. When do we recognize revenue?
we recognize revenue at the point where the transaction is being initiated for a particular activity or a particular activity or service. When it is being initiated.
Do you know about the accrual concept?
Yes, please.
Can you elaborate on it?
Well, the accrual concept is about making records of transactions. That's business question.
Okay. So when we say something is material, what do we mean?
When we
Materiality.
say
I'm
something
talking
is
about the
material, we are
materiality
talking about.
concept.
Hello? Yes, please come again.
Hello?
You're asking when we say something is material.
Yes. In accounting, when we say something is material, what do we mean?
We mean that the thing is of a physical presence and it can be quantified and valued.
So in accounting, when we say materiality, then we are looking at the fact that the thing will have an impact on the decision that we want to make. So let's say an accountant, let's say someone steals, the company loses an amount of say 10,000 cedis. So for an organization, a huge organization like the Bank of Ghana, 10,000 cedis may not be material. It may not impact negatively on its financial statement, or it may not impact negatively on its decision making. But when you take a smaller organization, 10,000 may impact negatively on its activities to the extent that it may even lead to its having liquidity issues.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Ishmael, please, do you have any questions
Yes,
for us briefly?
yes, a question was asked to me, and I pray I did not answer it well. Or let me say, yes, I did not answer it well. That was Mr. Osabute's question.
Okay.
He asked, please, I want to pick it again.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
Yes, go ahead.
all right. When that's my superior and our director do give me a task to do, based on the day's activity, I prepare a schedule on performance of the task. So I reorganize myself, then time the task. For example, if it's coming from my boss, his own may take about 3 hours to finalize it. I apportion the time to it, then work that one first to him. Once he's reviewing, then I also work on my superior's own, then also complete it within time schedule. They also give it to my boss to review before I send it to my director.
Ishmael,
That's
okay, so that's why I hear you on that. But the tax I'm talking about, both tax have a deadline of 12 midday. All of them have a deadline of 12 midday. How are you going to run around all this tax?
Okay. Meaning that I'm supposed to, no, I would inform my superior that our head had given me a similar responsibility to do, and I'm supposed to finish at the same time he's expecting me to do. So if you would kindly please indulge with me to finish his, then later on come to his.
You don't believe in the concept of delegation, delegating to other team members or delegating to other junior members of the team and supervising them accordingly to ensure that you are able to submit both tasks at the same time so that you do not miss the deadlines. You don't believe in the concept.
I do believe in the concept of delegation, but I took the
All right.
question to the point where
Thank you so much.
okay.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Tete, just round up what you were saying, just round up on that.
Okay. I said I took the question from the point where I'm the last in the rank of the officers. So that's the reason why I made that statement.
Okay, thank you so much. Please, you will definitely hear from us. We appreciate your time in the interview. Thank you so much. Mr. George, please, your general feedback and then kindly touch on about just one parameter or two maximum. How you
In
scored.
general, I feel he's okay for the role. When you look at how he answered some of the questions I asked, though he got some wrong, but in general, his general knowledge about the accounting principles, taxation, and everything, fine, accounting is okay. So for a junior role like that, it will be fine. Though he got a few questions wrong, it's okay. And I think he may have to build on his knowledge about tax because for taxation, every account officer being at the bottom, you are the one in charge of payment voucher preparation, processing of payments, and there is no way you can being the first person who is going to handling the processing of payment. There is no way you can mistake on the tax systems. So for the VAT, with the Ghana system, we have the standard rate and the flat rate scheme. So you need to get the difference between the two, which organizations are entitled to charge the flat rate scheme and which organizations are entitled to charge the standard rate. That's the 15% standard rate. And also how to apply the COVID tax rate. And also, even with the computations, it's not just straightforward. We have the COVID levy also. We have the GET fund also in there. Then we have the NHIL levy in there. So I think with anybody aspiring for the role of an account officer, these taxes should be at your fingertips because that is what you'll be working on a daily basis. In general, I think he's okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Osabute.
Yeah, I think that for me, yeah, just like George said, he's a very good candidate. However, there are a few things that I think that needs to be looked at in terms of his articulation and self confidence. That was a little bit lacking at the initial stages of the conversation. I didn't really see that, so I think that he needs to be able to work on his self confidence and his articulation. And then also when I think it was George asked a question that relates to his strengths and weaknesses. I didn't really see that he needs to really look everybody, regardless of who you are. There are definitely some strengths and weaknesses that you have. So I think that it's also an area that he needs to be able to identify what his weaknesses are and what his strengths are, and then what can be done in each of them, especially with somebody who has a 10 years working experience in the space. It's also very, very important. Apart from the strengths and weaknesses, I think that one of the skills he needs to be able to pick up is the ability to delegate, especially when there are multiple tasks that have the same timelines or that have the same deadlines. There's a need to be able to delegate that to a junior member of the team. Even if it's a senior member of the team, you need to be able to communicate that and say that, look, I need you to do A, B, and C for me. And then if it's a junior member of the team, you need to be able to supervise them and ensure that it is done, in a very accurate manner. So for me, as part of my general comments, this is what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. From Samuel Osu Ejari, please, what are your general impressions?
I think he did well. Yes, as David Osabute said, the articulation. I mean, he knows the thing, but he needs to be confident with it and speak outwardly. I mean, it has to come out like someone who has 10 years experience. Okay, so that is about that. And when we look at the CV, I feel he can do better. I mean, arrangement is okay. The quantifiability of the achievement, he wasn't able to quantify his achievements. Okay, and I think he should update that.